Todrick does have a lot of there's a narrative around him in the community, amongst
Mm-hmm.
especially the black gay community, that he don't really rock with us and really fuck
Mm-hmm.
with us, and people don't like feel a certain type of way. You know him. Why do you think that is? And um, is that an accurate depiction? Are we misunderstanding Todrick Hall?
I love this
Absolutely.
question. Yes, God.
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay.
So, I think that there is a duality that both interpretations um could be true depending on how you look at it, and this is why I say this. When I first met Todrick, that was one of the first conversations we had. You know, like, why is this a thing? And then when you get to know a person and you get to understand their traumas, where they come from, the upbringing, and etc., then you understand why certain things look a certain type of way. So, what I will say is, when you have someone that grew up in a environment that they're one of four, you get what I'm saying? You know, they're the Broadway kid. When you think about Broadway musical theater, it's all that. You know, there's a lot of things that
Mm-hmm.
play into that factor. But on the flip side, I always ask people, when you have these ideologies of Todrick, have you actually watched his material? Have you actually sat down and really like did your own research? Because someone who doesn't like black people or doesn't care for like African Americans, I don't see Jennifer Lewis doing many projects with them. I don't see Brandy doing many projects with them. I don't see Shaka Khan doing many projects with them. I don't like. There's so many influential black like artists and people that come and do stuff with. I say us because I was on his team for a very long time. Come and do stuff with us with a call. Like, there's been times where I've been sitting in the living room and Tamar just walks in, Jennifer walks in. Like, there's so many things, and so I'm one of his close friends. Jaslyn, who's also a black girl, she's one of his close friends. Now, I'm not saying everything he does is correct. I'm not saying everything he does is right. There's a lot of things that, you know, a lot of our friends we don't agree with. But I can't stand by the whole like narrative of, you know, he's a coon and he doesn't really support
Mm.
black people and X, Y, and Z. And it's kind of like, okay, then when he tries to, then it's like, oh, well, you only put the black people there because you trying to fix the narrative.
Mhm.
You know, it's
Mhm.
just back and forth. I think a lot of times with our community, if I could sum it up, when things are not packaged the way that we feel it should be
Woo.
packaged out to us,
Uh-huh.
then it's incorrect. And because you have a black man, African American man in this space that does musical theater, and the music sounds musical theater, and a lot of our people correlate musical theater with whiteness, then you're not
Ooh.
making music for us. And that's always been the biggest thing that I fight against. And Todrick has literally had to text me like, "Can you please get out the comments, like, because you're blacking out." Yes, I am gonna black out because yes, we get paid, and I'll just go ahead and knock that one out the way. Yes, we get paid, and anything we have not gotten paid for, we knew ahead of time that we wasn't getting paid. It was a whole thing about dancer hips and how the dancers didn't get paid. Todrick put a post on Facebook, and he said, "I'm looking for 70 male dancers. Here's the email. I wish I could pay you all $500 a piece to do this, but I have an idea I want to try. If you would like to be a part, submit to this email." That's number one. You had to submit to do this job. You knew the job was free. No one knew that Nelson Hips Hills was going to be what it was. And so now that it blew up,
Ooh, that's real.
now you want, oh, I didn't get paid. But the same dancer that opened his mouth and said he did not get paid was mad because he didn't get to go on tour with us. So why would you want to go on tour with us if you did not get paid? But you also didn't mention that because we
Ooh.
didn't get paid, because this is what Tasha does. If he gives us a free job, he gives us a paid job. The reason why I've been on RuPaul's Drag Race 3 or 4 times is because I did a free job with him, and he said, "I'm going to compensate you and I'm gonna put you on Drag Race where they're paying us a lot of money." That dancer that complained, you did 2 jobs on Drag Race with him. That would have paid you more than the music video. So, going back to, the question at hand, I'm always going to stand 10 toes down when it comes on to Todrick. He has pissed me off before. He has fired me before. We have gotten to it before. You know, we have our things as friendships, but I just cannot. I can't stand around and watch people say
Yeah.
that this man doesn't like black people, whatever the narrative is, because I'm there and I'm in that space. And I check my friends.
Correct.
Baby, I'm friends with Todrick and Aubrey. I have the most problematic friends that you
Drake.
can even think of. Okay? So between
Mhm.
those two,
Right.
and we even had our own triangle of beef. Like between them, like you have to really like be able to check your friends. And yeah, Todrick has a lot of things. He's not perfect, but the narrative is just kind of people want that narrative and it makes sense for that narrative
Mhm,
to keep going, so they just let
mhm.
it go.
No,
Well,
I'm
let's
glad. I'm glad, and I'll kick it back to you, Tanner. But I just myself, because I'm a person who always I stand on my shit, and I've been one of the people who've read the things and seen the
Hmm.
posts, and I'd be like, "Fuck Todrick," you feel me? I've been one of them people who be like, "He's anti-black," or he's, and
Yeah.
I don't know the man, but from what I've seen and from what I've heard the people say, so like
right.
that, just listening to you makes me even think, maybe I should like look at the big picture because we don't see everything and like
Yeah.
we can't just keep always and I like that like just because it looks different doesn't mean that it's anti-black.
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah, I have to second that because one, I'm a musical theater kid. And I would
Hmm.
say that as a creative, that is where I'm finding my issues. Like musical theater, you got many different genres, you got many different characters and personalities. It's like which one am I actually, what character am I actually emitting every day?
Hmm.
Like that's me. Um, and so I actually watched Todrick growing up. Like Todrick is my name. The whole thing when I even say that to this day. Sing it. It's catchy. Even to the song where he had when he remade the Wizard of Oz song.
Hmm.
Um, so he was very relatable. I would say that you cleared up something for me regarding the whole dancer accusations because that's when I was like, okay,
Hmm.
because when people don't get paid, of course this is arts and whatnot, but it's
Hmm.
also kind of oppressive. It's like, yeah, we stealing your talents, you black folk, and now we're not gonna pay you. So that's the only part of it that I would see that's like, you know
Yeah.
what, he got some folk in his ear that's like, they'll just do it, they'll just do it.
But,
So
but,
I
but,
don't
but,
know.
Yeah.
What
but,
do
but,
you
And
think?
but,
About
but
that
here's the thing.
video
I'm gonna
though,
go
too.
there. Sorry, I gotta
I
go
mean, I
there.
was just say that.
I gotta go there. Um, oof. You know, there's a lot of A-listers that you named on my resume that I've done jobs for that weren't paid. There's a lot of
exactly.
A-listers that I've done jobs for, and they gave me $200 for a 2-day, 14-hour day. There's a lot of A-listers who was honored in Vegas and for Billboard Awards, and the dancers had to fly themselves to Vegas, work as a local, which means we're not paying you, and did the job for free. So people like to pick and choose where
Yes.
they put their anger, and
Yes.
how they do things. Checks being late is gonna happen, baby. I did, baby, especially in
And it's
entertainment.
also And it's also you got to know who you're working for, right? Instance,
Yes.
right? When people want Micah B to come and host their event, why did I talk in third person? I don't know. I do that sometimes, but like I have a fee, right? But when I got a call from my homie and he was like, "Hey, do you want to open up for Craig Stewart and T.S. Madison?" I was like, "Yeah." I when as soon as all I needed to hear was, "Do you want to open up for Craig Stewart
Mm-hmm.
and T.S. Madison?" That was it. He said, "There's no compensation."
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with no compensation, right? It because that opportunity and it opened
Yes.
up. People was like, "Oh shit, this nigga opened up for T.S. Madison. Let me hire him now." You get what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it's about the visibility. It's about the exposure. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. I
Mm-hmm.
can't then be like, if she comes back to Chicago and they find somebody else that they want to host, then it's not for me to be like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
hosted for them and they never paid. Like you knew you knew what it was, and I feel like a lot of times people do make it when something doesn't work out for them, then all of a sudden it's like an issue. Like right now, we got 4 rotating co-hosts, right? We got four
Mm-hmm.
rotating co-hosts until we find our co-host.
Mm-hmm.
If not saying that's what's gonna happen, but if Tanner wasn't picked, he can't be like, oh yeah, I did this and they didn't pay me. And it's like you submitted, you knew what it was. We told you up front. And I feel like sometimes, so I'm starting to connect the pieces and see everything. I feel like sometimes people aren't honest about, just because you're disappointed that you might not be on the next tour or in the next video or in the next shoot. That doesn't mean like you were done dirty. It's just, Alex, you haven't been picked for every fashion show that you've auditioned for.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, that's what happens when people, and there's beauty in a journey, but that's what happens when people see you from the beginning where you didn't have much, and now you're getting some, acclaim and fame. You're going mainstream and things like that, especially depending on the industry that you're in.